you go. So welcome to session 3 and day 2 in room 6. We have Garth Mcfadden, the importance of the interview. Garth has held the wireless sales seat in the BNI Driven Dragon chapter since 2003, and he joined the regional BNI team in British Columbia in 2014. Right now, he is the senior launch director, and he's been involved in 10 chapter launches, and 5 of those were last year in 2020. Boy, do I need to talk to you. Husband to Debbie and a father of a blended family. Wow, we've got 8 kids there, 9 grandkids, and a 10th on the way. Congratulations, Garth. Nice to hear. His life goal is to make a positive impact on every person that he crosses in his life's path. Burning desire, and this is no surprise, burning desire is to be guided by his passion in life and for life, I might add, and not being affected by his fears. I have something to add to that. This is a picture of a cruise that we were on in February 2020. You see, he's sitting there with his plate that says nothing. The waiter came around to our table and said, "What would you like for dessert?" He said, "Nothing." So they brought him a plate of nothing. So that was a good chuckle. Thank you very much for that. It was entertaining for our dinner and for our cruise. And on that note, Garth, I'm going to pass it, let you take over. Oh, no, I'm doing your share. Oh,
yeah,
there we go.
Are.
Just about forgot that I'm on for that. So you can take it away and you just tell me when to hit
All
next.
Right. Well, this is my thank you, Cindy, and of course that was that same cruise. There was some dignitaries on there, so we got to meet people from around the world. And you're in that picture somewhere, and I'm in that picture somewhere. So thank you for being my Jedi. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. The importance of the interview. Okay, so when you think of interview, now we're talking specifically interviewing somebody, an applicant to get into your chapter. They want to apply for membership in their chapter, in their seat. And what do you think? What do you think when you do the interview? What do you think of? Put it put it in the chat. Let me see if I can throw that up to see. Yeah, set expectations. That's a good one. I like that one. What are some of the other things that you think of when it comes to the, determine the fit? Yeah, determine the fit. Just go on to the next slide. Here's some of the things. Find out the depth of their network, build a relationship. So these are some of the things that I would think, primary source of income. These are all excellent. So what are good questions? If you're the interviewer, what are good questions? Are they a good fit? Reference checks, working as a team, like a membership team, not just one person doing this. If you're high end, you say, hey, you try to profile them. What disc profile they are. I'm really not going to go into those because those are the most the things that people know already. So let's go on to the next slide. And we're going to talk about the importance of the interview as far as setting the tone. Now I'm a launch director. Cindy mentioned that. I've been involved in 10 launches. 5 of those last year. In the last couple of years, I've conducted, as a launch director, I've conducted over 100 interviews. And you're not just checking them out. I think that's a perception we have. We want to check them out. We want to ask them all these questions. We want to do more than the fog check. But I want to tell you that the chapter culture starts at the interview. In launch, I found you can't make mistakes. If you make a mistake, they won't launch. So it's absolutely critical that it is a two-way, so that you have the ability. Let's go on to the next slide. They are the foundation in launch. They're the foundation. And so let's take a look here. You set the tone of the interview. It's very important that you set the tone of the interview. You want it to be inspiring. You want it to be encouraging. You want to get engagement. You want to lead them, and you want to listen. Whether they become members or not, you have an opportunity to make a positive impact in that person's life while in the interview. You have that opportunity. That's the attitude that you need to go in with. They're a small business person. They want to make changes. They want to grow their business. Whether they're going to be a fit in your chapter or not, this is an opportunity. What does Ivan say? I want to inspire people. I want to inspire people who inspire people. I want somebody to look at to look at you and say, hey, because of you, I didn't give up. So we need to have the right attitude going into the interview. So let's go on to the next slide. And a great interview can start by putting the applicant on the right start line. If you do a great interview, you're going to put the applicant on the start line, facing the right direction, fired up and ready to build something. Okay, so these are the three things I'm going to cover today. Are you referable? These are the questions that need to be answered during the interview. Are you referable? Can you refer? And setting the expectations. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay. I love this conference. We've had some great things so far. Begin with the end in mind. That's what Ivan says. So what do we want? We want prosperous chapters, right? We want chapter members that are doing well. And that starts with a big chapter. Yesterday, Robert Scrope says, hey, they don't want a 5mm drill. They want a hole. They want a shelf, right? So we have to start with the end in mind. What do we want? We want a prosperous chapter. So are they referable? Okay. Take a look at some of these questions. This is where you can set the course for the chapter. Okay, this is where you can fit people into the niche. What is your niche? What are you best at? What are you most experienced at? This is the opportunity for you to clarify their seats. So we need to maintain. So in our chapter, you want to set a chapter culture that we only refer to specialists. This is part of the chapter culture. We only refer to specialists. The people that I have, my networks, my people that I refer, I only refer them to as specialists. And so some of these categories down below here, like the car wrap, well, maybe there's other companies that have car wrap as an add-on, or maybe out to somebody. If I have somebody that needs a commercial lawyer, I want a specialist commercial lawyer, not a lawyer that says, oh yeah, I can dust that book off. So HVAC, no, I do plumbing and HVAC. No, I want an HVAC specialist. Oh, I'm a printer and I can design your cards. I can do graphic design. No, we want to give our referrals to specialists. You know, in a live meeting, I've done this before and I've heard Ivan do it. He talked about, and I've done it. It's a great analogy. You say, hey, does somebody have a set of keys? And somebody give your set of keys, and you say, you know, there's a lot of important things on here. I can see a car key, I can see a house key, any valuable things, any important people that this key can open. You're not just going to hand it to people that you don't trust. That's the same as referrals. So if before we can give you a referral, we really want to make sure that we can trust you and that you are an expert at what these people mean. And so I need to maintain a good reputation. And so do you want to just be a big fish in a little pond, or do you want to swim in the ocean? Because our chapter culture is ocean swimmers. Do you want 10 referrals, or do you want 12 to 15 referrals at what you do best, and what you can charge more for because it's your niche? We are focused on the big pie. We're focused on the big picture. So are you referable is the way that you can really narrow them down. And what that is, a measure setting time so that as your chapter grows, the potential is more. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. Can you refer? And I've kind of flipped around the inviting. Who do you invite? The frogs analogy. But how many friends do you have? Can you refer? So you want to find out how deep is your network? How many people can you bring? So how many friends do you have? Tell us about your relatives. You know, what organizations are you part of? Not just, what are your hobbies? What do you do? For myself, I'm part of a Ride to Conquer cancer team here in British Columbia, the Brainiacs. We were founded by 4 brain cancer survivors. This year, we've got 173 riders. Tell me about your organizations. Tell me about the things that you do. You want to be able to prompt them, say, hey, I'm part of a church group. I'm part of this. I stand on the side of a soccer, an organization. Your network is anywhere the people are on a regular basis that you get to know. So tell us about your networks. Geography, where did you grow up? Did you grow up here? Do you still know people? And I love this last one. How social and influential are you? So social talks about how easy is it for you to talk to your network about us? About what do you buy? Where do you buy it? How easy is that for you? Are you very social? Is this in or out of your comfort zone? You want to be able to find out, is it in our, and so that's social. How social are you, and how influential are you? So are you able to talk to your network? And secondly, are they going to listen? Right? So influence, will they listen? Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So are you referable? Can you refer? And let's go on to the expectations. Setting the expectations. You have an opportunity to put a shovel in their hand that they're going to walk into the chapter day 1 as a member, their induction day. What size of shovel are you going to put in their hand determines how successful they are. Now on the bottom left, are you going to just kind of take it easy? Well, we do these things, but you don't really have to. Or no, you want to set the bar high. You want to give them a big shovel. You want to be able to you want to be able to say, it's so important that you have everything right. Let's go on to the next slide. It's so important that you understand the commitment. Now we all seen, this is a slide taken from the Driven Dragons. It's recent. Bottom line, $63,885. That is the average seat value right now in the Driven Dragons. So that's impressive. The VP goes through these reports every week, so they've seen it. They know they know these numbers. That's why they signed up. Hey, 63,000. I could use an extra 63,000 in my pocket this year. But really, what does average mean? What does average mean? Well, first of all, average. If you've got your head in the oven and your feet in the freezer, somewhere in between, you're okay. Somewhere in between, but it's a range. It means that not every single member is cashing that check. Some of them are cashing lower and some are higher. Some are giving lower, some are giving higher, right? And so there's below average, there's average, and there's above average. And this is the question that I love to ask. I love to go through this and say, hey, 63,000, you know what that really means? Some below, some above. So what do you want? What is your goal? You've paid your money, you filled out your application, you're sitting here, you want to be part of our group. What is your goal? Is your goal to be a below average member? Or you want to be an average member, or do you want to be above average member? And guess what they all say? They all say above average member. What that means is that gives me permission to be able to talk to them about what it takes to be above average member. For me, and I love to tell stories in interviews. For me, in 2002, before BNI, I spent 1 day a week, 1 out of 5, 8 hours a day on the road, knocking on doors, making cold calls. That's what it took to fill my funnel. 1 day a week. Now I don't have to do that. So I repurpose that 1 day a week and do BNI stuff, do Driven Dragon stuff. I'm a member. I've been a member since 2003. I love to do one-to-ones, learning. I get to sell all sorts of things. Before I just sold phones. Now I get to sell real estate, mortgages, all these things. And so as a new member coming in, you're going to learn how to sell more than just your business. Right? But it takes time. And so, the attitude, Ivan says, interviews. Okay, new members. Three things important. First one, attitude. Second one, attitude. Third one, take a guess, attitude. And so what is the attitude? Is it I have to, or is it I get to? You want the get to. You know, my mother told me, a long time ago when I was a young boy, make a game of it. Your chores, the things you do. I grew up on the farm, and it was my job, my chore to take the garbage down to the garbage bin, and it wasn't at the end of the curb. Well, not end of the driveway. Our driveway was several hundred meters long, but it was a ways. We didn't want the garbage dump. We just put the garbage there once a year. We'd have a big burn, and through 4 seasons, I would have to take the garbage down there. And so she said, Garth, make a game of it. And so as a kid, I just got creative and thought, okay, I wasn't, just taking the garbage bag to the dump. No, I was James Bond taking toxic waste in behind enemy lines. I was having fun. And so you have to create that attitude. I get to come to the meeting every week. I don't have to. I get to come to the meeting because that's what makes it. And you need to instill this attitude. You can instill it when you do it this way. You're giving them a bigger shovel, right? You're giving them a bigger shovel. Yes, it's a big shovel. Yes, it's a big shovel. Yes, it's a lot of work, but take a look at what we are building. We're building a pipeline of referrals. So day one, that new member can walk in with a big shovel in their hand, ready to build something, right? You can make that difference in the interview. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. I walked them through the member traffic lights, and I talk to them about what it takes to be above average member. So the below average member, they're red. The average member, they're yellow. Above average, they're green. You want to be a green member. You want to be a green member in your contributions. And so I talk about the 5 different KPIs, the attendance, the the one-to-ones, the continuing education units, the referrals, and the visitors, right? So let's go on to the next slide and say, you know what? Okay, so the below average members, they're the 2-hour member. Let's just go on to the next slide. So they're the 2 hours. So they come to the meeting only. We do have some members like that. They want to they come to the meeting. That's it. They just put in 2 hours. Now look at on the side there. So the hours along the bottom, this is pointing to 2 hours. And look at what their return is. The return is very low. No surprise there, right? So if you go on to the next one, say a 3-hour member, okay, I'm going to put in an extra hour. They're going to do a 1-to-1. They're coming to the meeting and they're doing 1-to-1, but they don't know how to do 1-to-1s properly. They're just doing, hey, I like you, you like me, I've got this is my family, that's my family, whatever. It's like you walk away with nothing because you're not trained, right? Some members, they say, okay, I want to do the education, right? So let's go on to the next slide. So they're doing the 4. They're going to put another hour in, and they're doing that like they're listening, they're training, these are the 3 KPIs that are totally in the hands of the members. And so right away, they're up to 4 hours. And so all of a sudden they're starting to make more, and they're out of the red. They're not a below average anymore. Now they're above, they're above average member. And they're not above, but they're an average member, and they're in the yellow. They're starting to make a difference. But if you want to be above average member, and I'm talking about this in the interview, you need to put in the 5th and the 6th hour. The 5th hour is you're taking the education, you're sitting down, and I'll tell you a story. I had a 1-to-1 with David Forrester in my chapter years ago. He is a high-end painter. It's called heritage painting. He's licensed with the Heritage Board. He can repaint Heritage home. He's very expensive and he's very good. Well, I'm having this 1-to-1 with him, and I got to be honest with you, David. I'm cheap. My family's cheap. We do our own painting. My neighbor's cheap. I've really tried to, talk it up, but within my network, it's just hard. How can I help you? You need to explain to me, how can I help you? He says, well, Garth, a contractor is a high-end contractor building in nice affluent area would be a good referral for me, a good referral partner. So that week I took an extra hour and I sat down and I worked on that for David. I said, I went through my whole database, all my customer list. I pulled out the contractors that I knew and I started calling them. Well, it's good for me too. It's a touch with my customer, but this was an hour that I dedicated to finding that golden goose referral for David. And so I put that time in. And I started calling. And then finally I get a hold of one guy. He's building a house down in Point Grey. Now, Vancouver people know that's a very affluent area. He says, and I need a painter. He said, I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to on a new painter. The guys that I have now, they're slow. They don't show up on time, but at least I know them. I said, well, my painter is good. Well, my painters are good too when they show up. I said, well, my painter gives a 5-year warranty. See, that's another thing I learned is what is the deal breaker? How do I break that thing when they say they got a good painter? David told me, he taught me how to do it. And all of a sudden, long story short, David has thanked me for over $50,000 in the last two to 3 years from that one contact that I was able to give him because I put that extra time in. Now, what do you think he thinks of me in his membership and everything else? Okay, let's go on to the next one. The power of following the system, and we need visitors. We need visitors in the chapter. So the members that put in the 5th and the 6th members, they're the ones that are in the green. They're the ones that are the top. They're the ones that have referrals to give on a regular basis. They're the ones that bring the visitors. The visitors are the lifeblood of the chapter. This is information that these people need to be inspired with. Yes, I want to come in because they're thinking, wow, if I'm doing it, then people are going to be doing this for me. If I'm walking in, I want Garth to sit down for an hour and prospect for me to find a golden goose. That's what they're thinking. You want to set the bar. You want to set the bar high, right? Big shovel. You need a big shovel when you come in, right? So visitors, you want to tell them, hey, visitors are the lifeblood of the chapter. On average, because BNI, we track everything. On average, they're worth $1,000. Every visitor you bring is worth $1,000. And if they buy something, maybe they join. But if they don't join, if they buy something, guess who gets the referral? You do. I came to a meeting years ago and the accountant in the chapter come up to me and says, hey, Garth, you need to put in a referral for me. I said, I didn't refer you this week. Oh, yeah, you did. Well, I don't remember. She said, here's the name. Just give me this referral at the time. I said, I don't recognize this name. Trust me, Garth, it's from you. I'll tell you all about it afterwards. So what happened was this guy comes into her office and says, I need a good accountant. She said, how did you hear about me? She always wants to track where her new business comes from. How did you hear about me? Well, I was at a barbecue last weekend and I said to my friend, hey, do you know what a good accountant? He says, well, no, not really. Oh, hold on a second. I was at a meeting about ago and there were all local businesses and there was every she was second. I may have her card. He goes upstairs to his office, comes down with the card back, gets the card. Here you go. She looked it up. Guess whose visitor he was? He was mine, right? And so you get that. So I got that referral. Visitors, if they don't join, maybe they know somebody that's going to join. They can join, and if they join, they're bringing $65,000 in. You want to be a big contributor to the chapter, have sponsor somebody. That's how you get into the green really, really quick. You want to bring visitors. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. What do we have here?
5-minute warning.
5-minute warning. All right. So let's move on to the final slide. Okay, commitment and expectation. It is so very, very important that we set expectations and that we get it in writing. Okay, does your chapter have a commitment and expectation agreement? In launch, we have an expectation form. We walk them through it. Because you walk somebody through the power of one, because you walk them through the member traffic lights, when you talk to them about You know, you need to be at every meeting. You get to be at every meeting. We take attendance. You know, there is an attendance policy. They, oh yeah, I know. I see that. That's part of the. That's part of. Yeah, we. You know, we all contribute to give referrals. Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Because you've just talked about the ones that give referrals, that do the one-to-ones. These are all things that you want to be able to put in your expectation. You know what you're really telling them. What you're really telling them is we're in the boat. We're all in the boat and we're going somewhere. We all have our oar. So the interview process is we just want to make sure you're coming with the oar. We want to make sure that you're going to roll with us, that you're going to be part of the team. And we also need you to know in the expectation form, also need you to know that we have life jackets. And so if it doesn't work out, we can hand you a life jacket and you can find success. You can find success elsewhere. Now, maybe we're a little bit more brutal and upfront about that during launch, but you really need to set expectation with consequences. You need to talk to them. You need to talk to them about the attendance policy. You need to talk to them about the minimum contributions that your chapter has. You need to talk to them about visitor day expectations. Does your chapter have a visitor day? What are the expectations? Hey, our expectation is that every member send out 40 letters of invitation the old-fashioned way, write out the envelopes, put it in the mail, and follow it up with the phone call. They need to know that coming in. They need to know the process. Hey, here's the onboarding process, passport, MSP, mentors. This is what's going to happen. We're going to be there with you to start with. They need to know the code of ethics. This is what this is what we've all agreed to. We're not asking you to do anything that not every single one of us has agreed to and hold each other accountable. If there's chapter dues, you also want to say leadership team. It's a culture. When you're asked to step up into a leadership role, you want to say, yes, this is where I'm going. So I think we're kind of running up on time. Any questions?
I have one. So
Yeah.
after the application interview and everything, I've noticed with some chapters they've had a few bad apples kind of slip through the cracks and everything. And I've come to the conclusion that nobody's ever going to put a bad reference on their application. So I've gotten them to start doing Google reviews and even asking chapter members, do you know any other like additional reference check options that we can maybe do to help with that?
Yeah, so I love to call Google references. I've done that before. I had an application one time. A guy shows up and he's got his business partner and one of his employees as two of the reference checks, and I go, okay. So I actually did a Google review on him, looked at his Google reviews, and found out somebody. They put their name, their company, and everything else, and this was a number of years earlier. And so I called them up and said, hey, you put this Google review. Have you used their service since? How has it been? And so I don't know if that answers your question, but we need to be creative a little bit. And you can also talk to the member that invited them to the chapter. They can also say, okay, here how do you know them? Where do you know them from? Yeah, so good. Any other questions?
Just a general question. You talk about the chapter or the commitment form, the commitment and expectation form. Do you use that with all of the chapters or just with your launch?
Oh, okay. I have a special one for the launch, but our chapter has one as well. So the Driven Dragons, we have one as well as part of the interview process where we go through the expectations and then we walk them through the form. And as soon as they sign it, we know that they're in, because it's a two-way. I always say it's two-way. We both have to agree. Anybody can join the gym, but not anybody can join BNI. You have to apply. You have to be interviewed. Right. And so as soon as they sign that form, they're right. They're in. It's sales made. So.
Right. Janet has a question.
Okay.
How do you deal with people that are not quite an extrovert? They're more of an introvert. And we know in our hearts that they could probably be a good referral partner, but they just don't have the proper training on that, and they kind of hesitate
Yeah.
because they don't feel that they could be confident enough with it, even
Sure.
though we're sure they would be.
Great question. You need to let them know that, first of all, there's a podcast that Ivan says he's an introvert, if you believe that or not. He's a situational extrovert. And so you can encourage people outside their comfort zone. And you talk, oh, this is one of those things that's outside your comfort zone. And so this is where the magic happens. If you want to do well in business, first of all, they've stepped out into their own business in some way. And part of that is to be outside their comfort zone. And you want to encourage them and partner with them and hold them accountable and say, hey, listen, like if they're like that during the interview, I would say, okay, pull out your phone. Who are the first people that you're going to call? Who are the first people that you want to invite? Who did you know a plumber? Okay, write his name down. When are you going to invite them? You want to be able to just kind of get some action happening right away. And you can do that right in the interview.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, we're coming up to our time. You've got another minute or so before we
Okay.
return to our main room. Any closing remarks?
Oh my goodness, what a thrill this is to be part of the Canadian National BNI conference and to be able to give back in this way. I appreciate everybody coming into my room. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your conference. We're going to have a great gala tonight.
Thank you so much.